So my Sony a6700 likes to overheat.
I got overheat.
And I can't blame it too much, because during the summer and partially in autumn, ambient temperatures at my home office stay at around 28 to 31 degrees Celsius. And while there are well-tested custom solutions from brands like Ulanzi, I didn't want to pay $50 for a small fan. Yeah, import taxes in Turkey are mind-blowing. That's why I thought I can easily use a cheap phone cooler instead, right? Right? So this Chinese $9 phone cooler from the local store comes in a small box. Alongside the cooler there is a Type-C cable, small manual, electrostatic sticker, and a metal plate with a double-sided tape on its back. There's even a quality control stamp. Thank you, Chinese worker number 12. My cooler seems to have no factory issues whatsoever. On top of that, I've received a special gift. Wasp fillers. Well, thanks, I guess. The cooler is built nicely. Radiator is made of a brushed metal, probably aluminum, painted to look like copper. I've scratched it, and it's clearly visible that underneath the paint the metal is of another color. Of course, that was expected at this price level. Casing is plastic, and the fan blades are plastic as well. Contact area is of course made of metal. There's a 1/4-inch screw hole to mount the cooler and your device to a holder or a tripod. Plus there's an RGB backlight that is changing colors dynamically, unfortunately without any controls. Fan is clearly audible, but not extremely noisy. However, using it along with an inbuilt camera mic might not be the best idea. But the hidden gem is inside the cooler, and it's a Peltier element. Basically, it is a tiny heat pump which transfers heat from one side to the other, this way allowing to cool down object lower than ambient temperature. Many spears have been broken in constant debates around its efficiency in cooling solution like this one. My take is that if you have an effective heat dissipation, like the decent fan plus a relatively big radiator on this device, Peltier element makes sense, especially in high ambient temperature scenarios. Thing is, to pump the heat from outside to the inside, the Peltier element uses electricity and produces additional heat in process. So your cooling solution has to be able to dissipate more heat comparing to when such an element isn't used. One major drawback of the Peltier element is that there will be some condensation on the cool side of the device if the device you are cooling is not hot enough. While it won't be raining down from the cooler, it's best not to let the cooler run for too long when your device is idle, especially if it doesn't have weather sealing or is not waterproof. Time to test cooler's performance. First, I've used a camera without a cooler in rather tough conditions. 100% battery charged, USB-C cable connected, articulating screen opened, and camera monitoring via Wi-Fi. 4K 60 FPS, 200 MB bitrate, and Sony S-Log3. Under these conditions, camera overheated in 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Next, I've attached the fan and run the tests again, making sure the camera cools down completely between the tests. With cooler attached, a6700 managed to record for 27 minutes and 39 seconds, which means that it more than doubled the recording time. I did the tests with 1.01 firmware and then updated to the latest 1.03 that improved the recording times even further. There is a widespread belief that using a magnetic attachment like this will result in more noise being captured by the camera sensor. So I've decided to test if that is true. I made some test shots in a very dark room and high ISO, standard picture profile, lens aperture set to 3.5. No noise reduction applied in post. And I made an additional test in a brighter environment, this time in Sony S-Log3 and camera base ISO of 800. Despite the cooler performance, and especially the price-to-performance ratio, I still recommend sticking to custom camera coolers, at least for Sony APS-C cameras like the a6700. Why? You might be thinking that I'm a bit off my rocker and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. You see, when I ordered this cooler, I didn't bother to check its size. Turns out it's huge and doesn't fit into the articulating screen compartment. I had to use a rubber band to keep the fan attached to the camera with the screen open. Obviously, this is a terrible solution as it prevents from putting the camera on a tripod or using a camera cage. But hold on, it's not the end of the world, I thought. I'm still able to stick this piece of Chinese engineering to the back of the camera with its screen folded. And while it does fit nicely that way, this location completely destroys the cooling efficiency. You can cut the metal plates to fit into the compartment, just like the other creator did here, and this will let you fit the cooler. However, this setup will be limited only to the smallest tripods. So in the end, I have a fantastic phone cooler that's useless for my camera. But on the bright side, I still have my trusty wasp fillers.